Good evening, this is News.Ph, but it's not politics as usual. I'm Pio Ontiveros. What we have in Sabah, that situation in Sabah is no walk in the park. There is a standoff, and it's a potential diplomatic flashpoint whose effects, if not handled properly, could be disastrous. But what is behind all this? Professor Julkipli Wadi of the University of the Philippines joins us here in the studio. Good evening, Professor Wadi. Thank you for being here.
Hi, good evening, Pia.
Professor, does the Sultanate of Sulu still exist?
It exists, at least in terms of institutions or personalities, but in terms of the power that it has already waned down or has degraded for a very long time. So it has become like a claim as sultan, but it really has no power whatsoever, at least in the substantial sense.
Okay,
although it has certain influence to some people in Sulu, in Tawi-Tawi.
But it is still not like, for example, a monarchy in Europe, or at least there is some semblance of authority.
Yeah, it has really degraded in terms of I would say substantive power, or maybe if we compare it to like other monarchies in many countries, like in Great Britain or in Japan or even in Malaysia, it's because it has been isolated from mainstream history of the country, and it has been aspiring to regain its lost glory. And I think the Sabah standoff is an attempt to revive that glory. But it is such that it is a house divided, and therefore it's hardly able to recoup its old power, say in the 18th century or 19th century. So I think this standoff in Sabah is really just an attempt, given the opportunities, I think, with the new reconfigurations of politics in Mindanao these days, that they probably had seen certain opening in terms of projecting itself,
asserting itself.
Asserting itself. But we don't know how far this effort will be able to precisely regain that lost glory, at least in like in the past.
My next question, Professor, is Jamalul Kiram III, who says he's the Sultan of Sulu, really the Sultan of Sulu?
Yes, per historical documents, there are, for instance, documents like the Bates Treaty, including the Carpenter Agreement. The signatories there were their, parents. In fact, the fact that he carries Sultan Jamalul Kiram III. So at least the Kiram has some genealogy, or we call that Tarsila. But that claim is also been countered by other claimants, who come from different line of successions. In fact, in our knowledge, close to around or more than 10 claimants are aspiring to the throne. Although the Kiram is the major ones.
Yes.
Because their parents are the signatories to major agreements. In the last part of the Spanish colonialism and until the American period.
Okay, but how did it happen if the last Sultan of Sulu, who died in 1930, is it 35 or 36, did not have any heirs, and then his niece, who took over after him, did not have any heirs either? So, ano yung direct relation ni Jamalul Kiram to the Sultan in 1935?
I think I'm not familiar with that story. I think the coming in of the Kirams is due to I think the need to continue the successions, even if the direct line has been cut off because precisely of the there was no son of the last sultan before. But I think the kirams were accepted because I think there were substantial support they gained at that time. So until they were, in a sense, they gained their legitimacy, and it continued since then, like in the 60s, when they presented the issue of Sabah to the Philippine government. That is it's now the government who would pursue the case. So they were the kirams. And therefore the continuing like Sultan Jamalul Kiram, although he's not the only one, there are many kirams. Like the one in Sulu, for instance, Ismail Kiram is I think the more influential in the area. The one in Tawi-Tawi, who are now in Sabah, are also the brother, are the ones influential also in Tawi-Tawi. But Jamalul Kiram III is the one based in Manila, but I think he is the eldest son, so he has to be the one, I think, that would speak on behalf of the Sultanate.
Professor, was this move to go to Sabah ill-advised?
It's probably ill-advised, but maybe they have seen an opening in terms of presenting their case or pushing their case, given the new reconfigurations of politics in Mindanao with the framework agreement, and given the fact that there are many forces, not only the Sultanate, but I think even the MNLF of Nurmi Suhari was also dislodged from the peace process, and therefore it's not impossible that they would join forces and therefore do something that would make them relevant. And although the Sultanate refused to be identified with the MNLF, but Nurmi Suhari said some of the people behind who went to Sabah were his former MNLF commanders. But I think this, even if it is ill-advised, I think it is just an attempt to test the water. How much, for instance, would Malaysia react? And would they be given certain space or recognition or say negotiations?
So what do you think is the real target? Is it let's get Sabah back, or let's get something from the Philippine government through this draft agreement? Or what is it? You know, if they're saying that hindi kami pinakinggan, hindi kami sinama dun sa draft agreement, sa peace agreement, ano bang hinihingi nila na dapat dun kasama sa draft agreement, i-renew natin ang claim natin sa Sabah? Ganun ba yun?
I think it's too extreme if you say that they would like to revive the Sabah claim. Because I think definitely Malaysia will not accede to that.
So why go to Sabah and stage this?
I think they would just
They're trying to call attention to themselves, ganon?
Call attention and present their case and make noise about the fact that they had been disillusioned or dislodged from the peace process, and possibly even make a posture that if they will be heard and probably a negotiation be open, then that would be at least there will be a relative gain for the Sultanate. Either if Malaysia would give them certain even small degree of recognitions or a very small concession, that would be, I think, something for the Sultanate.
Concessions like an increase in the lease, which is until to this day 77,000 pesos a year.
No, I don't know if it's if it will have to go to that. I think Malaysia would be more open to maybe broadening the idea of helping the people of Sulu rather than possibly even just concentrating with the issue of the rent, because I think if Malaysia is interested to increase the rent, they could have done that long time ago. And I think even the issue of raising the rent on the part of the Sultanate, I think at this time it's again ill-advised, because it would mean that they are just after for the
Yeah.
raising of the rent.
Oo,
And
oo.
that would
So
really alienate the Tausugs.
Oo.
And it will not be, I think, I mean, the Tausugs should not sympathize if that
yeah.
is
So the
only
unanswered question
reason
is, what
behind.
is it really for? Hindi ba? I mean,
Well, it's to call attention. Now that they had been dislodged from the peace process, maybe, again, they would like to be recognized, or at least probably the government would have to talk to them, or Malaysia would also talk to them. That, again, as I said earlier, that is already something. If reports were true that indeed the Sultan wrote Malaysia, and that he assured the Malaysian government that they would not do anything.
they would not do anything, but they would not leave either.
Precisely.
And so they will refuse to be deported.
It would mean that indeed they
So
are
in
just
other words,
after
they're there to stay.
for recognition.
Okay, so they're there to stay.
They are there to stay, but I think the standoff could not go that long because
That long. Because Malaysia will not allow it either,
precisely,
right?
precisely. It's not, I think, in the interest of Malaysia
Yeah.
to prolong.
Oh, because
the
I'm sure,
standoff.
Professor, you would agree that you don't go to an area, a country, or
Precisely.
whatever,
Precisely.
armed, and then expect to be welcomed with open arms
Precisely.
by the armed forces.
Precisely, because people will be alienated, they will not welcome you, and in the long term, you will not get the support of the people.
Criselda Yabes, in an article she wrote for Rappler entitled Sabah as the Last Gold Coin, many interesting things she said there, but among the more interesting things she said is, it was the Kirams who held on tenaciously to the dreams of the past, drawing followers here and there, putting up makeshift offices in corners of Sulu and Tawi-Tawi that the military suspected were a recruitment center. For they were not seeing what many others have come to accept, that the Sultanate is long dead, and that Sabah became their clutch when their own Sulu was sinking.
Right. In fact, the efforts of making the presence felt has been like going on since maybe a few years ago. There had been training accordingly of the so-called Royal Army of the Sultanate. And therefore, I think there were initial preparations. But I don't know if they have cleared the ground that well. Because I think they, had some strategic preparations or plans. They could have done more than what they had done with this standoff. In other words, they should have been received quite well by people of Lahad-Datu and those who went
After
there.
all, there are Filipinos there.
Precisely.
People from Sulu and Tawi-Tawi have
Precisely.
been
But
there.
it would appear that these are just, close followers or of the Sulu Sultans. And in fact, there seems to be no movement as far as the Tausug masses are concerned in displaying their support to the standoff. So I think that is what is lacking.
Yeah.
In
Professor,
their
do you
preparations.
want the Philippines to claim Sabah, to resurrect this claim on Sabah?
My view is I'm raising the idea of creative ways, Pia. I'm quite consistent on that. Because let us, I think, agree that both Malaysia and the Philippines are really beneficiaries of the nation-state systems that have been imposed and that lead into the breakup of traditional societies, including the sultanates. And both countries had benefited from these new impositions of nation-states, and therefore they have to extend certain degree of sensitivity or at least sympathy to traditional institutions that have been subjected into that breakup. And for instance, it is just quite unjust for Malaysia to not to be moved by the fact that what it has been renting has not even increased from 5,300 ringgit this past several years.
So how much should it be, Professor? Let's just be realistic na lang.
I'm not
How
after
much
for
should
the
it be?
money, I think.
No, but I mean, it is one way to show, di ba? You monetize your...
Yes, but there are ways of extending help and assistance.
Or in terms of development, parang Malaysia
Yes, I think
helping develop...
during
Sulu,
Ramos's time, the plan was to put up a foundation. into which the assistance would not be coursed through directly to the sultans. But that would be used to finance development livelihood program to the whole, to the people of Sulu. In other words, it should not be just be viewed as a kind of an assistance or a rent to be given to the Sultan alone. Since what constitutes the Sultanate at that time were the Ra'ayat, or we call the Ra'ayat, or the people of Sulu themselves. So therefore, the assistance should boil down to
trickle down to all of them.
To all of them, not only the Sultanates. And I think this is the most humane, the most
even
practical,
democratic,
etc., etc. That's the creative ways that we are talking about.
I have run completely out of time, but I'm going to make some people upset in the control booth and ask one more question, Professor. Jamalul Kiram as Sultan, he ran for the Senate in 2007, but the way we understand it, if you are head of a sovereign state, which is what they claim the Sultanate of Sulu is in North Borneo, and this is what your fellow Muslims had said, no? Then why did he run for the Senate? And what kind of a message did that send?
Agree. You know, Pia, that's the point when I said that the Sultanate has been a house in disorder. A recourse like entering politics is a product of that, you know, and therefore it degrade his personality as a sultan, and even lost probably his credibility, you know, given the nature of Philippine politics, and he has to recoup again that image, and I think it will take time.
By not doing anything else,
precisely.
That will
In other words,
diminish.
It has to really do something that will make the House of the Sultanate be credible again, so that they will gain the support of the people in the area.
All right. Thank you so much for coming tonight, Professor Julkipli Wadi from the UP Institute of Islamic Studies. Salamat po, sir. We'll take a short break. News.Ph will be right back with another topic. Welcome back. This is News.Ph on the Solar News channel. I'm Pia Ontiveros. Cardinals of the Roman Catholic Church will go into conclave very soon to elect the 266th Pope. Now more than ever, when the world has changed so much since Vatican II and since Pope Benedict XVI has become the first Pope to resign in centuries, are all eyes on the Church, as it is about to elect the next Supreme Pontiff, the Vicar of Christ, the servant of the servants of God, the leader of the more than 1 billion Roman Catholics worldwide. To speak with us about the conclave and the next Pope is Ambassador Danny Victoria. He used to be Malacanang Chief of Protocol Emeritus. Mali. Tama ba ako? Okay. And lay master of Pontifical Liturgical Celebrations. Good evening, Ambassador. In other words, you are the expert, one of the lay experts when it comes to the Church.
You don't say any more former, but you say emeritus.
Emeritus, yes. I'm so sorry. Okay. Well, Ambassador, let's begin with there are 117 cardinals, no, not 120, who will elect the new Pope. Yes. Are they all eligible to be Pope?
I presume they are all eligible because if you reach the age of 80, they are disqualified to vote. I don't only know if they are disqualified from attending, but even those who are beyond 18 may still be elected Pope.
Oh my goodness. And then they will live for a few years and then and then we'll have a new Pope so soon after that. And Cardinal Chito Tagle is eligible also.
He is very much eligible. They say he is 55. We had Christ who was only 33.
Okay.
So why can't we have one who is 55?
Yeah. There is this very Filipino thing, no? Kapag may Pinoy on the world stage, para bang everybody roots for him. Do you think that is the situation now, that people will want to see Chito Tagle become Pope? Yes, a Filipino.
Yes, because, you know, it's one way becoming known throughout the world. It's a Filipino Pope this time.
Okay. But does he have the qualities to become Pope?
Oh, that's a nice question. You know, His Eminence is a very intelligent man, very intelligent. He's a TV personality. In fact, others say that he is the Fulton J. Sin of the Philippines.
Okay. All right. But what are the possibilities right now? Because I remember in 2005, no, for the conclave that elected Benedict XVI, nung pinag-uusapan, the possibility of an Asian Pope. I remember, parang asa pa tayo, parang ganon.
Yeah,
pero ngayon, there is a bigger chance now. Ganon ba yun?
It could be. That's not impossible. It's high time that we had a Filipino Pope. There's only one fear that I am having. I do not know if the prophecy will come true, that after John Paul II, there will be the last two popes, and after the last two popes will be the collapse of the papacy. Now, I hope it does not become true, especially if the Pope is a Filipino Pope. I would not want the world to say that it took a Filipino Pope to cause the fall.
Oh my goodness.
So let's pray, if ever it's His Eminence, let's pray that
he will not be the last.
He will not
Pope.
be the last, and this prophecy is not true at all.
Okay. Ambassador, when the cardinal electors, because that's what they're known as, no?
Yes.
When they enter the Sistine Chapel, what is the first thing they do?
Oh, then they make pledges that they will be, they'll observe the rules of the game, the rules of the house, how the elections should be conducted. That was shown the last time when John Paul II died and succeeded by the present Pope. And in the TV, it was shown how the elections were done.
Okay. Was that the first time na televised? I suppose, no?
I suppose so. Although we had pictures, for example, shoes of the fisherman, of how a Pope was elected.
Yes.
I would not even know if today that would still be observed for every cardinal standing alone, no? The wall. Each one had a canopy. And whoever wins, his canopy stays, while those who did not make it will just pull the string for the canopy to fall.
You're talking about the movie with, oh my
That's
goodness,
right.
Anthony. Oh.
Anthony, yes. That's,
God, I forgot his last name.
Yeah, Shoes of the Fisherman.
The Shoes of the Fisherman.
That's right.
Yes, I have that at home.
I
watch that
also.
over and over again. There are special ballots, right? That are used. Okay. And how many rounds of voting do we go through?
For as many times that there's a need to vote for the new one, because others, if you don't get a majority, well, they have to repeat.
Okay. Is it a majority or the 2/3?
It's actually two-thirds, rather.
Two-thirds.
Plus, I think 2/3 plus 1.
May 2/3 plus 1 pa.
That was one time a Pope wanted it that way. And there was also a time that 1 was eliminated, it just became 2/3.
Okay. There was a time that it was 2/3 at hindi pa po ba, Ambassador? And then, in the later years, para bang ginawang, o sige nga, pag medyo nahirapan tayo, let's do it by simple majority or runoff.
It could be that way. That's what I came across also, that what if they fail to obtain a majority, the required majority? Probably just a number of cardinals will be enough to determine who will be the next Pope.
But Benedict now, in 2007, had made it 2/3 again. That makes it more difficult, hindi ba? Or
we have so many of them anyway. You can reach the number to 2/3, if ever.
Okay. Although we never really find out the votes, right?
No.
Ambassador, we never really do.
Who voted for whom? No,
who voted for whom? Hindi. And
we
yung bilangan, ano?
Yes. We have in the case, for example, Pius XII. After Pius XI died, there was an election. It was a first voting, and he won, except one guy who did not vote for him, and that was himself.
Oh.
It was unanimous, but
Okay.
one did not vote for him, and that was Pius XII.
Okay. But right now, what they always have, hindi po ba? Tell us about that. Para bang para silang COMELEC, no? Board of Election Inspectors.
Yeah,
you have those scrutineers, revisers, infirmari.
right.
What are the exact roles? What do they do?
Well, they go over the votes and count the number of votes, the ballots. And once they have determined the number of votes and the one made the number, for example, a committee will approach him and say, do you accept the papacy? If he says, "Achipio, I accept," then, as I was telling before, all the canopy falls.
Okay.
And then he will be asked, by what name do you wish to be called?
Okay.
We had so many John, for example.
Yes. John's.
Siya ang pinakamarami, 23rd eh.
Bakit John ang favorite?
I
Hindi
wouldn't
natin
know
alam.
why.
Why not Peter?
Why not Peter? That was because probably they wanted Peter to be exclusive.
And nobody
They
wanted
cannot to suffer.
baka they will not, oh, they didn't want to suffer.
Exactly how
like
he
Peter.
was.
I mean,
yes.
crucified
Yes,
upside down. Ah, okay. The conclave that elected John Paul II took 3 days, 3 days, no?
John
Is it-
Paul II.
Oh, John Paul, yes, John Paul II. Is it futile to ask how long the next conclave will be? No one knows.
No, you cannot. You can only surmise, but you cannot say that it will take 2 or 3 days. They say, according to Lombardi, the secretary or the spokesman of the Vatican, if the Pope are in by March 5, this is by March 5, then by the 15th, the conclave can start.
Oh,
Then I could imagine that because beginning 21, 25, 26, by 25, it's already Easter Monday.
right.
By
That's
that time,
that's on Monday.
perhaps,
Oo.
yes.
Yes.
25, March 25. I'm talking of March.
March, okay,
March
okay.
25.
Oo.
By March 25, Monday, Tuesday, and by 18 is Good Friday. Probably by that time, we already have a new Pope. And let's hope it's the Filipino Pope.
No one wants to be interviewed, right? Or else you ruin your chances completely.
Perhaps.
Is it para, baliktad ano, sa eleksyon sa Pilipinas?
you want to expose yourself? You want to show more?
Yes. Is that why there is that saying, go into a conclave, a pope, come out a cardinal?
Yes, you better do nothing about it. You enter as a cardinal, you enter as a pope, then you come out as a cardinal. That's the saying there.
Okay. Another saying, Ambassador, yung fat pope, thin pope.
Oh.
Is that true every time na the one you succeed is very different from you? Ganun ba yun?
Well, the case of the one last fat that we had was John the 23rd. And he died on which Sunday? That's Pentecost Day. That was June 3 of 1963. He was the last stout pope, John the 23rd.
Okay, okay. Should we memorize the Latin names of the cardinals? Because I remember when they announced the name, when the cardinal
It's in
deacon
Latin.
in
It's
Latin. So
they shout, Habemus Papam, we have a
yes.
pope.
Oo.
And,
But so what is Luis Antonio in Latin?
That I would not
Kasi
know. I forgot.
Oo, para alam natin kaagad, hindi yung naghihintay tayo ng translation.
Well, Tagle is very easy to say.
Yeah, but they always say the first. I remember with Benedict XVI, the conclave that elected him. Ang unang binanggit yung first name na Iosefum. So, well, anyway, okay. Ambassador, let me know when you find out what is Luis, or if somebody out there knows, tweet us please. What is Luis Antonio in Latin?
Anthony. Sige.
So tell us about the white smoke. You know, when it comes out, the bells.
Well,
that
actually,
peal,
if they
etc.
fail to get the required votes, they burn it. No, it's in a stove that they used to do. And then if the smoke turns out to be black, they fail to elect. That they do something that will make it white. I don't know what chemicals they put in the stove for it to emit white smoke, indicating that an election has been finalized.
What kind of a pope does the world's Catholics need at this point?
To me, I need a pope like a combination, to me, a combination of John Paul II and Pius XII.
Why Pius? Well, I grew up with John Paul II, but why Pius XII?
He was, normally they said that intelligent people are not good administrators, no? But he was an intelligent man, real intelligent. He became a very strict pope. And I
Very
like
good
him for that. We
administrator.
need somebody who can
Okay.
really run the church. And
Okay.
it is said that he consulted the cardinals only 3 times.
Oh, okay.
Because he relied most on his knowledge than the knowledge of his cardinals.
Okay.
And he was really looked up to as a very intelligent guy.
And John Paul too, because he
Very
was so
charming,
well-loved.
very charming lang, very charming.
Oo.
Very
Very
much
well-loved.
love, very much love, a very simple guy.
Okay.
I would say Paul VI was okay lang.
Yeah. Kanina, well, okay, we have to wrap up. 30 seconds. Okay. If kanina ang sabi po nyo, you know, we have a bigger chance now, but
Of
off the top of your head, you know, what is your fearless forecast? From what region of the world? From what
there are
continent?
more Catholics, I think, in South America. If ever they would elect one who is really, who represents a good number of Catholics, it would have to come from South America.
Really?
Each had to come.
Asian na lang.
But no, I'd like to have one nation. And let's prove to them that Filipino can run the Philippines, the church.
The church. Anyway, thank you very much, Ambassador Danny Victoria. Thank you so much for joining us tonight po.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
And thank you for watching. We'll see you again next Wednesday. Good night.